Hi everyone! Thank you for tuning in for this really fun video. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make an intertwining chain with seed beads. It's really fun, it's really easy to do, and I'm going to integrate two different types of pendants and show you how to use both types of drill so that you can use any pendant you have. But if you're loving these pendants, I'm putting links to all of these supplies in the description for the video. Everything here is from Sam's Bead Shop, and the mix you see here is the Red Creek Seed Bead Mix. The beautiful gemstones are available. These are pendants that are top drilled and front drilled, and also my findings are available as well. So everything is there, and I want to just show you a nice close view of the projects before we get started because they're just really fun. So let me go ahead and make this the screen where you can see everything really well. And what I've got here is the same exact stitch, but with two different styles of suspension for your pendant. And what I did for this one was a little loop. And on this one, I went right through and continued the stitching. So I talk about this more detailed when we get to that spot, but I do think that a lot of the stones that are drilled, you'll be able to get 3 thread passes through. So I think this will work no problem for most of your top drill stones. I also think this will work for brios. So try it with your larger brios and see how you like the effect. The effect of the weaving itself is, it's really neat. I love how this came out. So I think that it will become a fast favorite. I'm going to be posting in Gem Chat probably in the next couple of weeks a version where I just use 3 colors so that it looks like the ropes really travel through the connecting segments. But for this class, I'm going to stick with using the mix for the center, and then I chose one color out of the mix to become the connector part. And I'll explain all this in more detail just here in a few, but I did that for learning purposes, but I also got a beautiful result out of it. So I'm really happy with this, and I hope you love it. So let's get started on learning how to put everything together. In addition to the beads and the findings, you're also going to want to have a strong beading thread. So anything like a Wildfire .006 or a Fireline 6-pound or up, those are going to suit you great. You can use a lot of different beading needle sizes, so like a 10, 11, a 12, those are all going to work as well. So feel free to use the needles you have. These are size 8 seed beads, so they're working really, really well for most of the needle sizes that I've got here in my stash. And then the only other thing I could think of that you might want to have handy are some pliers and round nose for doing things like cute little dangles at the end if you want to do that. Some chain nose pliers for your jump rings, scissors to cut your thread. Optionally, if you have a thread burner, that can help you with finishing. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. Let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. To get started, cut about a wingspan or a little over a wingspan of beading thread, and the needle size I'm using is a size 10. You can use a size 11 or 12. 8/0 seed beads are really forgiving. And then as far as colors, I would suggest choosing one color to making that your block color. And what I mean by block is this is a rope that starts with a segment of seed beads that are laddered together to form basically a 3-strand connector. This is the best way I can think of to describe it. And it's just a ladder stitch, and I'm going to show you that right now. But if you choose one solid color, it will make it easy to see against the rest of the beads that make up your strand. Okay, so I'm going to use the darkest color in the mix. This is the Picasso Ruby, for you to be able to see that easier. And so you want to start with 4 on the needle and slide that down and leave a pretty good tail. You're going to need this tail to connect your clasp later. So 12-inch tail at least would be a good number. And those 4 beads you just strung, come back through the first 2. You're going to be heading in the beads in the direction where the tail is coming out. And try to hold that all in place. And you'll get this little square that'll form for you. And you'll want to pull the working and tail threads apart to tighten, and it'll give you that little pop. Make a turn up through the second column. So just like that. And now pick up 2 more beads in the same color. And again, you can work with any color, just keep it consistent, at least for the first time you make this. It'll help you with identifying the anatomy of it. And so here's 2 more. We're going to just loop through the last column of beads, just like that. Pull tight. And then head down through those beads you just added. And you'll have made a ladder stitch of 3 stacks of 2, just like that. What we're going to do next is we're going to connect them. So exiting from this side, you want to go through these 2 on this side and head up through the side that the tail is not exiting from. And the goal is to get a U shape with your thread like this, coming out of those beads. When you tighten this, what's going to happen next is this stack of 2 is going to fold over and meet that stack. So it's going to look just like this. It's just going to fold over and meet where the other one was. From here, what you want to do is head down through the same one again, the one that you were just exiting before. And you'll know which one it is because it'll be kind of open compared to the others. See right there, it's a little bit open. So go down through that one. And pull to tighten. And you'll get this little connector. It's basically 3 strands laddered. Well, it's 3 stacks of 2 laddered together that will give you the ability to suspend 3 strands and kind of control their placement. And this is the key to making the intertwined look that I was showing in the beginning of the video. So the next thing you want to do, and what I did for simplicity was I kept my colors separate. So the color I used for this segment, I excluded it from the colors that I used for the strands that I'm making. So I selected a total of 8 beads, and I just kind of picked up all the other colors in the mix, avoiding this one, just so I can keep track of, where I am in the design. So a total of 8 beads, and I used all the other colors in the mix. And so you'll get this little segment here. And what you want to do from there is go ahead and pick up 4 more of the joined segment color. So for us, that's the Picasso Ruby. So these 4 right here. Slide that down. And then come up through the first 2. So again, we strung the 4 just like that. And we're going to loop around. And we're going to head back just through the first 2 of those 4 that we strung there. And what I like to do when I'm pulling all this thread through is I'll just put my finger right over this segment here just to keep it tight. But there is one other opportunity to tighten it, so not to worry. But basically, you're going to get that same little block that we got when we did the first one up here. You're going to get that at the end of the strand here. And you can use your thumbnail like this against it to tighten and get it really close to the strand here. From here, what you want to do is come up through those 2 beads. And this is really similar to how we made the first segment. It's all the same steps. We're doing it with something sticking out at the top. So same steps though. 2 more beads. We're gonna loop around and come up through here. Pull tight. So you'll get this little segment of 3 now. Head down through the ones you just added. We still have this. And now we're going to get them to join, fold in over each other. And it doesn't matter if you fold them this way or you fold them that way. Same thing. Just pick a side, any side, and you want to go back through those first two, and they'll be the ones that the little strand is coming out of, right? And then it's making that U shape, see? Just like that. It's going to make these fold over like that, and then just come right back down through those beads. They're the same ones you were just exiting. So you've basically just made a full circle through those 2 stacks of 2. So just like that. Once you've done that, what you have are 2 of these little segments with 1 strand joining them. And what you'll want to do is come up through the next segment so that you're heading back this direction. And so just pick the next one over. It does need to be the empty one. So you don't want to go through the one with the strand. Just head through the empty one. From here, string 8 beads. Okay. And again, I avoided the color that's used in my join segments. So 8 beads right here. And this is the part that always kind of tests my geospatial awareness a little bit, my 3D abilities here. But our goal is to isolate. There'll be, once we join this to the top segment, there'll be 1 open left here and 1 open stack left here. We want to join in a way that isolates them from each other, meaning there'll be an open on one side and the other open will be behind these. So here's how that looks. If I go through this one, then both of my open sides, see, they're on the same side of each other, here and here. And my goal is to have them be on opposite sides. So I just wanted to show that really quick. And sometimes I struggle to predict it, even though it should be kind of easy to see, but you'll know right away. You've got to choose the other one if it shows them both on one side. So again, I had gone through the one with the strand coming out of it. So I'm going to go through this one here. And now what you've got, you can see the difference. Now the open side's on one side and the other open side here is on the other side of our strands. So the goal is to get it like that. That's the secret to the intertwine. And it will definitely make a little intertwine for you if you stack it like that. So go ahead and now you're gonna turn your thread down through the open one. Pick up 8 beads. And go ahead and slide those down. And what you'll find is that in order to join to the other side, you need to go in between those strands. So go ahead and do that. And then continue through the open stack here on that side. Pull that tight. And you have your first segment of intertwine. So let's repeat that together one more time so you can see how to do it. And then the goal is to just keep doing the same thing repeatedly until you have a whole strand. And you just keep going. And eventually it'll just look like they're all running together. Now, when you get very familiar with this stitch, it is possible to work it all in one color or in just 3 colors. For example, you can work 3 different colors for the little segment here and have each strand be the solid color coming out. That's another variation you could try for this, and that would look really cool. And it's probably doable after trying it once with isolating the join colors. It just helps you keep familiar with the counts. It's also completely possible to change these counts. So I was going with 8 beads in between each of the join segments, but you could go with more or less. I think the minimum I would go with is 5. Otherwise, they're going to really be tight, but they're going to be very short joins, but I do think you can do that. Okay, so let's carry on with creating another segment. 2, 3, and 4, plus 4 more. 3 and 4. So I'm kind of making a point of using the other colors in the mix equally, just to keep my mix even. Why not, right? So there's 8 beads total coming out of the last one, right? Just 8 beads. Now let's pick 4 of the connector color. Okay, slide that down to meet the 8. And then what you want to do is come back up through the first 2 there. And pull to tighten. Turn and come down. Or in this case, you could say up through those 2 we just added. Pick up 2 more. And then loop back through the last column there. So there's your little ladder to 3. Come up through here. And you've got this little flag. It looks like a little flag there. Let's join it. Come back through these 2. All right. You'll get this little U shape with your thread. And now turn and come down through this one. And pull tight. When you do that, they'll kind of fold over just like that, and you'll get the little triangle shape. Okay. From here, we're going to go ahead and just turn through one of the open ones. In fact, there's only one you can turn to because you're coming out of an open. The other one's got its strand already in it, so you want to go through the open one here. Pull that through. Often I'll kind of hold it like this and then just tighten it a little bit. 8 beads. All right. And again, we're going to try to isolate the opens, one side from the other. So I'm seeing open side, right? One way to do it is to kind of line them up. And so this one open side here, I'm going to go through this one. So I try to get through just these 2 beads right here. There we go. And I know when I do that, that it'll leave this open on one side and this open on this side. And that's what we're going for, is to isolate them on either side. Oop. Sorry about that, if that made noise there. So again, what our goal is to get those to be opposite each other, so that in order to join them, you have to travel in between the 2. So let's come up through these 2. And I'm going to go ahead and get those 4 and 4. And you can just put your needle right in between the 2 strands, just like that. And then just come right up through this open. And they will intertwine. So go ahead and keep going like this until you have half of the length of your desired necklace. All right, so we're at the spot in the design where we're going to add a pendant. And so I wanted to show 2 different types of pendants and give you options for both types of drill. So in the case of the 2 pendants that I have here on the mat, one of them is a front drill. I believe that's what it's called. And so we're going to need to create a little seed beaded bail. You could, if you had in your stash already, you could add a metal bail or a pinch bail, things like that. But I'm going to show you how to do it with just seed beads. And then this is a really interesting pendant that has one of these top drill, a lot like a brio, actually. So in this case, I'm going to string it directly into one of our segments. And so what I'm going to do is probably keep the counts at 8, but we'll do 4 before the pendant, 4 after. So what that will give us is a little bit longer segment here for the part where the pendant will suspend. And so let's demo this one first, and then I will demo creating a bail for this. And I'm thinking really simply creating a beautiful seed beaded bail that can just be strung right over one of the segments. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to already have a needle on my thread. And in this case, for the top drill, we're working with the thread that's already coming out from the last place where we were doing our work here on the design. So I'm going to get some seed beads ready. And just like we've been doing, we're going to string randomly, but I'm trying to use each of the colors. We'll go with 4. And let's go through the pendant. I'm going to bring that on. So far, so good. 4 more. I'm going to string that down. And again, that's just some random order. All right, and got that ready. So next thing we want to do is we're going to, just like before, create one of the herringbone segments, or laddered segments, I guess you can call it. 4 beads. Bring that down. And back through. Back through those last 2. Here we go. So there's the first part of the laddered segment right there. Let's come up through those 2. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Add another one. So here's 2 more beads, and we're going to ladder them right to here. There we go. Go ahead and pull all of that through. Tighten up your ladder. And once you're happy with your ladder, let's close it. Just like we were doing for these other segments, we're going to go back through. If you're heading out of the beads this direction, you want to go through the first stack in a U shape. So just like that, right? And then when you pull tight, what's going to happen is the segment you're exiting will fold itself on top of the one that you just stitched into. Make a turn and head down through the segment you were exiting, coming in from the top this time. And if it opens up a little bit like mine is right here, that's okay. It's going to tighten up just like that. So that's what you're going for. It's just another one of those little 3-way segments, just like we've been doing. Okay, so same as before, we're going to turn through one of them and pull tight. And this time, go ahead and string the usual 4. And what I'm going to teach you next is how to stack them together. So go ahead and, now this is going to work only for pendants where you have the whole diameter for this. Now, if this was one that didn't, you could run over it. You would just need to kind of measure how many seed beads you need to cross the peak and make it over here, maintaining the same distance. But I'm going to try to get at least 2 of our 3 strands to support the pendant. It's going to change the look just a tiny bit, but not too much, because I'm still going to weave the other one through in a way that looks intertwined like that. So here's 4 more. And just like we've been doing, if you've got, you want to go through the one that leaves the open side kind of orphaned in the other direction. So from here, we'd want to go through this one, right? And that's because it means this one's alone on the top and this one's alone on the bottom. So it's going to give us the need to cross, right? We're keeping that same convention. All right, and so here's what we've got. We've got 2 strands running through our pendant. And then we've got the last open part of our little laddered area here, one open on top and one open from below. Now these can spin a little bit, but we're about to lock that in. So here's me making a turn, go through the open one here. Okay. And I'm going to go and pick up 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to need to add some number of beads to cross over the top of the segment, go through this and join over here. Alternatively, I think I can get a 3rd strand through. So here's an interesting thought. We could try both and see which one we like more. So when I exit from this side, I'm sorry, I've got quite a lot of strand going here. I'm trying to make it the thread that I've got to finish the design. 3 and 4 more here. So this is going to work for me with this drill. So if you're using the same one that I've got, I'm assuming they're all going to be pretty closely drilled. So that'll work for you. But what I noticed is we kind of lose the intertwine. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we're okay with that. But something we could do is we could bring one of the strands over it. I'm not sure which one I like more, but I think this is the one I like more. And because there's nowhere to lock them in now, one thought I did have, if you really love this intertwined look and it's really important to maintain that here, you could take the last of these beads and ladder them together, meaning the 3, each one at the end. You could ladder them together and force kind of one of them to intertwine like that. See? So that's a possibility. Mine are doing it just like that. Maybe I'll just kind of encourage that to happen here. Yeah, let's see. Or perhaps when I was exiting from this one, the thing to do would have been to go through it. Let's try that. Because I do think they'll hold the position at least a little bit. So, bring that through. All right, so I kind of forced this one to come over to this side of it so that I can go through it in between these 2 strands and then go through the open right here. Maybe I can do that in one swoop. Almost made it. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. There's a lot of ways that you can get this to work. I'm just going to try to go through this one here. Okay, there. So I was able to kind of get those to just keep doing the intertwine thing. And so what I did is I made an intentional effort to exit from the opposite side of where I'm heading into with that 3rd strand. I think that's the way to go with this pendant. Now, if you had one, again, it had one that you couldn't get multiple passes through, you'd have to change it up. But I think most of them, you should be able to get 3 thread passes through most stones like this. I'm just making a guess, but I think you could. But if you find yourself in a situation where that's not working out and you can only get 1 or 2, you can always just jump the top and connect it, and you'll just have a little space there. But I'm liking this the most, so I'm going to stick with that. And we'll carry on with the rest of the rope, and we'll join it at the top, and I'll show you how to put a clasp on it. So go ahead and just follow the same instructions that I showed for doing this side. Just keep doing them all the way and match the number that you've done here. And we'll meet back when we've got this on. Okay, so I'm setting all of this aside for just a minute, and I want to show the alternate method for this pendant right here. So I'm just going to make a seed beaded bail And oh, we've already got beads there. And so start a new strand of thread. Go ahead and grab that really quick. It doesn't need to be very long. 15 inches is going to be plenty. 15, even 12 inches. We're just going to make a nice simple loop, and it's going to be a strong loop. So I'm going to try making a loop that will fit around so that I can suspend it from one of these sections. And that's my goal, is to just have a really beautiful little seed beaded veil going around. So I just need to make sure my loop is big enough to go over it. And I'll just string it on over the segment. So I'm going to start with 4 here and go through the pendant. And I'm going to leave about 5 to 6 inches of tail. 2, 3, 4 more. I'm guessing it's probably going to be about 10. But here's how to test it for yourself. Bring the piece that you've made, because consider you might be making this with a different bead size. So I want to show you how to do the measuring and then just take a look. So I'm seeing that I definitely need at least 4 more beads, maybe 5. So let's add some more. There's 4. Let's go with 5. I think 5 is going to be the magic number. So to really test it, bring your needle through the first bead on the other side here. Pull that tightly through. Okay, and so you should have a loop that looks like this. Before you go any further and do any other steps, just kind of hold it tightly in your hand and see if you can feed it over the work. And for me, that's working really well. Also test and make sure you like the way that that looks. And does it give enough movement to the tip of your stone? I feel like mine needs more, so I'm going to change the count. And I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add 3 more beads because I want to give clearance for this part, the tip of the stone, to have motion. So here's 3 more. And I feel confident that's probably going to be the count that works. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to travel now, because at the moment to test, I was only crossing through 1 bead. I'm going to travel around and I'm going to exit from the bead that's just in front of where this thread is exiting. And it really does help to be using a strong thread for this part. A strong and rather sticky thread like a fire line will very much help you out here. Okay, keep going. All right. When you get to the spot that's right before the bead that your tail thread's coming out of, go ahead and do a knot here, a double knot. And making sure to keep the double knot inside. I also took note of the colors of where my tail was coming out and my thread was going in, so I can maintain the direction. So I know I was headed this way with the working side. And my tail side should be kind of heading that way. All right, so I'm going to go around one more time, but before I do that, just so I'm not doubling up knotting locations, I'm going to just slide this through. So I just put the tail through the bead right behind us. I'm going to keep going. We got to about there. That's good. And each time you do a pass, it's going to make the beads pop more in a nice circle. It's another bonus. Same thing as before. I'm going to exit now right in front of where I know my knot is, because I pulled that tail thread right into that olive bead right there. Let's do another knot. Okay, nice and strong. And just going to feed this through. And again, I might try to feed my tail thread one more time, just up through the next bead, if it'll go. It's going to start getting tight on you. This may be harder this time. If it doesn't work, don't worry about it. You can do your knot in kind of the same spot, but let's see if I can do it. You could also pop a needle on there too. And still I'm trying to bring my other thread to meet it. This pass will be really tight. That's good. That's what you want. Okay, keep going. All the way through. Same goal as before. We're trying to get to the bead that's right before where that tail is exiting so that they're joining in the same spot, just like that. And again, let's do a knot. Double knot. There's one. And there's two. Okay. And now I'm going to bring my tail thread up through a few beads. Okay. And I'm going to bring my working thread down through a few beads. So they're both still headed in the same direction as before. They're just opposite directions of each other. Okay, tighten that all up right there. And we can take our needles off now. Just set those aside. And from here, all we have left to do is I'm going to go ahead and thread burn these ends. So let's start with right here and right there. Okay. And now I'm just going to string it on. And so this is how it will look on your design. And you can always put it on at the end too, because I designed it so it could just slide out along the chain. And it's a really cool way to make it's a versatile thing. You could take it on and off of your necklace. If you just wanted to wear it as a beaded necklace, you could. But this is the way I like to use a front drilled pendant. It's a nice strong way. And then when you're wearing it, it really has that made for it look. Let me slide it down a little more. There we go. See how nice that looks? It may even settle on one of our joined segments. That's okay too. Also looks really nice settled on one of those parts. And it will kind of hold the necklace down as you're wearing it. So, and from here, you would just continue on with your stitching and finish your design. So let's do that together and then put a clasp on it. All right, so I've got this already stitched up, all ready to put on the clasp. And so no matter which version you did for your pendant suspension, you'll end up with the same endings that I'm showing right here, which are two of the laddered segments for, well, one for each end, with tail thread and working thread exiting from one of them. And so it's a really simple way to add a clasp. Go ahead and take, in this case, I'm going to work with the working side first because I already have my my needle on. And I've got my lobster claw here. I've also got, and you can use any clasp, but this is what I'm using. I've also got one of these cool hammer tone links. And I'm doing this in place of a closed jump ring because when I use stitching thread to jump ring, I really do actually kind of prefer to do something closed. So that's what I'm doing here. And what I've got on the end is just some extra jump rings to clasp to, and I made a little dangle. It's a little cute little seed beaded dangle on a head pin. All right, so I like to wear, first of all, one thing I was going to mention is if you have a side of the pendant that you think is the front, which I love both sides, so I don't think I can go wrong, but maybe we'll do this side. Based on that, if you're right-handed, put your lobster claw on that side so you can easily maneuver the closure on it. And then take the other side and have that be the side you put your ring on. So for me, it's going to be, I think I'm going to be doing that. All right, so let's start with that side. lobster claw first. So colors are totally up to you. You can use any colors you'd like. I think I'm going to just stick with what I've got coming out of the laddered segment. So the Picasso Ruby. I'm going to go through the ring on my lobster claw. And then I'm going to pick up 2 more. And from here, I'm just going to pick one of these 3. It doesn't matter which one. And go down through it. And then I'm going to turn and come up through the adjacent one and reinforce that connection. And I'm going to do that twice. And there we go. I'm going to make sure I got back through this other bead here. And once I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and make a turn. But this time I'm just going to go through the first 2. Right? So not continuing through the clasp, just going through the first 2 right here. And on this side, the open side, just to kind of make it a little bit more tight, I'm going to go back down through here. And then I'm going to head through the beads below. Okay. And so to weave in, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I need to weave in to just make turns through my work and go back up and down through the strands that I've created. So in this case, I'm just heading up through this one. This is the one that intertwines, so it goes in between. So just following what's there. And when you get to the top, if you're at the spot where your clasp is coming out, just be mindful only to go through those first 2. I'm actually going to use my thumbnail to catch it. There we go. And just heading down. Okay, so I'm going to do that same thing on the other side, but with our hammer tone ring. But before I do that, everything I just showed you here to do the weaving in, I'm going to repeat that down these 2 segments just to make sure that my thread is nice and tight before I trim it. All right, so there it is. And you're just going to have, one of the little sides is open. You won't notice that when you're working with it. You can even hang jump rings with little charms if you want, but I find that there's just so much beauty already happening here with my intertwined strand that I'm happy with it just simple like that. And a little dangle at the bottom is, I feel like that's all I need on a necklace. So that's all I did here for mine, but feel free to change that up for your design. I'm going to just very quickly show this side. It's the same process. The only difference is I'm sticking with the same 4 beads, but because I have a much larger area to go through, I don't need to string 2 and then the ring and 2 like I did the lobster claw. Just going to bring those on just like that. And then let's just pick a side, any side. Go down through those 3. And pull that tight. And I want to show you what 4 beads looks like on the hammer tone ring. I actually think that's really cute. I'm happy with that, the way that little circle pops. So I'm totally sticking with that. Let's reinforce it and weave in just like we did on the other side. So I'm going to go up through this side here, continue through all the beads around the ring. So just like this. And then let's do that one more time, just like that. And then same as before, we're just going to travel down here, make some turns in this segment, travel down, make some turns in that segment, and travel down. You can even make turns that, go from one segment to the other. As long as you're following the existing little intertwining thread path, you've got it. And so that is the necklace right there. Let me just finish this up and I'll show you a little finished layout. There we go. All right. So here is our beautiful pendant necklace all done. It's ready to go. And I've got everything woven in. I did a really thorough job on that. And I really like the way this looks. I thought this was a neat little connection there. I think that looks really cool. A little dangle on that. And there's my lobster claw side. So it is ready. And I'm going to go ahead and just clasp that so you can see it all laid out. Look how cute. I just love the way this looks. I'm going to go ahead and try making a second one and maybe a third in a different colorway. And I'll share those as I get them done. But I think maybe like a color block with this mix would look really cool too. So I kind of want to see that. That's another idea that I've got. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of the details and the steps and how I made these beautiful designs. And then I thought I would just take a minute and try them on so you can see also how they look when someone is wearing them. I really love both of them, and they both will become favorites of mine, I think, because they look really cool on. And let me also remind everybody what I did for length, because I don't know if I focused on that as much in the video as I intended to, but I went for lengths that were kind of more like a collarbone length so that the pendant is suspended. And this one looks, I feel like it has almost like an oceany shell feeling to it. I really like this one, but I am really excited with how, just in general, how these came out. They're just really, really fun. So, sorry, 1 sec. I'm just going to push that out of the way. There we go. So, yeah, they're just, they're very, very, like organic and oceany. So, there's that one. And let me put on the other one really quick. And as we were talking during construction, I like to put my clasps on this side when I'm using lobster claw, so I can use my right hand because I'm right-handed. But with this one, I did a toggle, and this one isn't demoed. I finished it after, but it's the same exact connection method. So that we used for the connector. It's just 4 beads coming out of the sides. And this time I'm just using a toggle, and I'll put that link in the description as well. But this one, oh, look at that. I think this is the one I'm going to wear today because it just really goes with how I'm feeling today. And it's got such an oceany, like just vibe to it. Oh gosh, I love it. Okay. It's also kind of desert too, right? It could be desert. I hope you love this style. Keep your eyes peeled in gem chat because I'm going to be doing some spins on this because I love this idea. Like it just kind of came to me in a dream, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to just try this and it doesn't always work for me or an idea, I try it and it works, but this time it did. So very cool. All right. I want to wish you happy beading, and I'll see you in the next one.